Good afternoon. Welcome to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connections. Our president, Eric Knowles, couldn't make it here today, so I'm filling in for him. And we're going to get started. We have a very special guest today. I'm excited about that. But first, let's get a word from our sponsors, Jackson Health.
Hi, I'm Matthew Pinzer, the Chief Marketing Officer at Jackson Health System. We're proud to be partnering with the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce to bring you this video series. We hope that it helps you to find new business opportunities across our community, and we look forward to working with you as we move into a new year.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm pretty excited today to be filling in for Eric with our member connections. We've been doing this for the past few months to put a spotlight on many of our businesses that have come in during this COVID and before, and it's been really thriving in their own right. And today we have an amazing person, Ms. Retha Boone-Fye. She's a pillar in our community on a variety of different things. And she has this company she just started, Healing Leaf. And we're excited to showcase her business and what she do. So Ms. Boone-Fye, could you tell us, first of all, what is Healing Leaf?
Well, to get into it briefly, I have a partner, Elizabeth Moss, and what happened is we both have Caribbean roots. And as you're growing up, especially if you have Caribbean-based family and even Southern-based families, something goes wrong. What do? You go in the yard and you get some Cerasee, you get some whatever aloe for burn, those kinds of things. You remember that. Because we as a people maybe not have had access to medical care. So we developed a lot of these things ourselves. Now, myself being from a Bahamian family, whenever something went wrong, again, I would go in the yard, in fact, I didn't even know what Lipton was until I was a little older, because we would have teas that we grew in our yard. You got a cold, you drank Cerasee. Something wrong with you, you take some aloe, you take all kinds of natural herbs and remedies. So as a result, a friend of mine told me about some things that I found very interesting. And that product was hemp. Well, as it turned out, it wasn't quite legal in the state of Florida. It was legalized on a federal level in 2018. So we started with some of the products that were based with hemp. And this is the non-psychoactive ingredient in the cannabis plant. So along with that, we also had like some other natural medicines. Carol Ann Taylor, who's a friend of mine, turned me on to this company based out of Colorado, and I flew out there, met with them to see what we would be able to do to carry some of their products, and it's been very successful. It was something that I wanted to get into, and believe me, it's been a whole new experience for me.
Awesome. So when did you start the company?
Actually, we began in 2018, and at that point, it was something that we had to investigate. We had to determine whether or not the legalities in the state of Florida and those kinds of things. And we actually opened a little storefront, which was a prerequisite for one of the companies. And it's been going well. One of our best sellers is the salve. There's a salve that we have that deals with pain, and it's been very, very good. And the tincture that you actually put under your tongue. The reason why we didn't really go all out is because the state of Florida actually in January of this year legalized the hemp in the state of Florida and the rules and regulations that follow that. So we've been a little slow with doing that. Even though we see other companies that are out there doing it, we wanted to make sure that we were within all legal guidelines before we came out that way. Along with that, and I'll let you continue, but that's kind of where we are right now.
So you have a variety of products that you provide in terms of therapeutics. Is it just teas? Is it salves? Is it what is the array of products?
Yeah,
and what's
we also have.
Is it pain? Is it mental health? Because some of these CBD products and other healing products, sometimes there's a niche. Some deal with women, some deal with this. What's your niche, and what does your company focus on?
I have found basically that our niche is dealing with pain and dealing with anxiety and those things. And with the anxiety, we have tinctures that you actually put under the tongue Some help you sleep, some help you relax. I actually have a bodybuilder who calls me and says, listen, when I go and work out, that lotion and that salve works wonders. I get them when I do massages and those kinds of things. We also have men's products that for beards, for you.
All right now.
We have beard salve and those kinds of things. And we also have, like I said, the tinctures, the salves, the soap. We even have pet products because some people have pets that have anxiety and things of that nature. So we do carry that. When it comes to dealing with mental health, we also have the tincture that goes under the tongue to help people who suffer from ADHD and those kinds of anxiety-induced activities. I also pivoted into another segment of the business, which is called mindfulness. And I don't know if people are very familiar with mindfulness, but mindfulness is a practice that is becoming more and more mainstream, pretty much like the cannabis is. As you know, over the last couple of months, a lot of states have begun to get into that aspect of it. But mindfulness is this practice of being present where you are, when you are, and being focused on you for this sole purpose of being more productive. I do the mindful practices. I just finished with one, as a matter of fact, with Dream Catchers with a Soul, where they were on for a 24-hour meditation. And this included people in mindfulness from all over the globe, which to me was amazing. So I got to do a 30-minute session of what we call a sit. Where we talked about the mental health of mindfulness and how it helps you in your everyday life.
Wow. So I have so much respect as someone who normally doesn't take any medicines. I've been doing herbs and stuff for myself, do teas and all that, and been doing meditation for many, many years. And I understand how it roots you in going through day-to-day life with everything going on. Like, having that foundation is key. But usually there's a story behind why someone goes into that. And as a business owner, you not only have started using these products, you've taken it to where you're selling these products. So what is that story behind why you personally thought it was critical for you to spread this knowledge with the world and become an entrepreneur?
Well, actually, there's a couple of stories. The very first story involves my husband and my partner. He suffers from knee pain. He was a sheet metal journeyman for many, many years and suffered knee injuries. And he came to me one day and he says, you know what? He said, they're trying to give me all kinds of pharmaceuticals for this pain that I have in my knees. So I said, let's kind of look into that. I said, so that's one of the primary reason I got into it, from the salve point. And I was introduced to this company and their products are exceptionally good. It's called Nature's Root. But the other side of that story is how I got into it. And all of this kind of folds in. Because as you know, the mind is basically the body. If the mind, you have to use the mind in order to make the body follow. And so when I got into mindfulness, how I got into it, about 4 or 5 years ago, I became a primary caretaker for my mom. And she's now 86 and doing well, thank God. But I did not realize the extent to which she had deteriorated. And what a lot of people, and I find a lot of people in my age group, and I'm not going to date myself, but I'm over 50, find themselves in a situation where they're becoming caretakers. And being a caretaker is a very, very strenuous and a very, very taxing role. And that's how I got into mindfulness. And my specialty is mindfulness for caretakers. What would happen is you get to the point where you have to put yourself in the place of that person that you're taking care of. Now, they were accustomed to being active. They were accustomed to driving themselves, to doing what they basically wanted to do. And all of a sudden, they can't do this anymore. And you become dependent on someone who maybe you not even necessarily knew that person was going to be the one that's taking care of you. So there's kind of like a two-person dialogue going on here. You have that person who used to be very active, and then you have someone who probably still is working or things of that nature. So there's some resentment. And so one of the things that you have to get past is putting yourself in that person's place. You have to put yourself in that person's place, that they used to be active. They used to be able to get up, take the car, do whatever they wanted to do. And then now they're basically a prisoner, either in their own home or sometimes in a facility. So you really have to be empathetic from that standpoint. But as a caretaker, also, it takes a toll on your mental and sometimes your physical health. Because I found, for example, that I would go to my doctor and he would say to me, "What's going on with you? Because, you've never had blood pressure problems. What's going on with your life?" And I said, "Well, because I don't have time to take care of me because I'm taking care of someone else. I have to get them to their doctor's appointments. I have to do all of these things." And so it's the aha moment. Is what I call the microwave bell moment. Ding. Okay, you need to take care of you. And from mindfulness standpoint, I call it the airplane or the cruise rule. Before you jump overboard, you need to take a parachute or you need to take a life jacket. So your life jacket basically is mindfulness, where you begin to nurture yourself so that you can be effective and nurture that other person. And so between the mindfulness and the salves and those kinds of things, you really have to kind of take all of that into consideration and make sure that you take care of you, because you can't take care of you and them unless you take care of you.
Yeah, that sounds like quite a bit. So not only are you an entrepreneur, you're a caretaker, you got a job, you're a wife. Yeah. How do you manage that as an entrepreneur? Because you're saying that already you're taking care of your mother, and you had all these other things going. Like, how do you manage being an entrepreneur with all the other things you have going on? And what are some words of wisdom you give to other people and those our audience that are watching?
The key is teamwork. I have a very dedicated team. For example, I have a team that works with me and helps me with my mom. I have a young lady, her name is Vivian, and she is awesome. She, makes sure she gets breakfast. She makes sure that she's taken care of. I have another young lady that comes in and takes care of her physical needs and exercises her. And I have some caretakers that are there with her for most of the time. So that takes care of that aspect of it. I did not want to put her in an assisted living facility. Particularly, I'm glad I made that decision early, because now with the assisted living facility, it would be very difficult for her care. So she is, sheltered in place. As far as the business concerned, I have a business partner. Actually, there's two of us. Her name is Elizabeth Moss, and of course her husband and my husband. And we have to manage to make sure that the business goes. We do drop-offs. We do, since we've had to kind of shut down as far as the retail is concerned, we do drop-offs, and contactless delivery is what they call it. So we've been able to do that. We order our products online. So that basically kind of takes care of itself. And we've been able to survive to that extent. As far as my home life is concerned, I have a very supportive partner. And I also have a young lady that comes in and helps me with the cleaning and stuff like that. So again, the key is don't try to take all of that responsibility on yourself, because it'll kill you, literally.
That's it. And you mentioned partnerships. So there are a lot of types of businesses where sometimes it's just the CEO and the person that runs the business. They do it and they hire everyone to do other things. And then there are partnerships. And sometimes those partnerships can be a whole nother process to manage. How have you managed your partnership, and what are the pros and cons in your business and what you do with partnerships?
Well, I think basically it means that you have to make certain decisions. And the very first decision you have to make is to partner with someone that you trust. You're going to have conflict. It's pretty much like marriage. Okay. You're not going to agree on everything. But if you have that underlying trust, and for example, that person has the business and your best interest at heart, then you're pretty confident in what it is that you do. And I have been very fortunate in that respect, that we've been able to work together, and the husbands get along. That's another thing. So they make absolutely sure that they're the ones who kind of like keep us tamped down, because both of us have these driving personalities. So with that in mind, we both know that although our personalities may sometimes be strong, we know that the business interest is at heart. So we pretty much have worked that out again. And as I said, there's trust. Of course, you have to have all your legal stuff in order. And your accountant and those kinds of things. So that makes a point. And you also have to keep in mind that you're going to be training all the time. There's all sorts of developments in the world, retail as well as online. And for me, the challenge has been to keep up with the social media aspect of it, to keep up with the all of the competition and those kinds of things. And I'm learning as I go along.
So is this your first business?
Actually, no. I laugh, right? Jamaicans and Bahamians say we got tree job. Okay, so I've never ever had just one job. I actually sold art for about 10 years for a company, in addition to while I was working, and those are some of the things. And I also had a concierge business where I did like matchmaking and things of that nature. But this is the first one that I have really been just 100% all in from the health perspective, from the heart perspective, from the mind perspective, because I truly believe that mindfulness is mind changing, and it's mind changing for the better. Like I said, I started out and I started out, I'll tell you, with mindfulness reluctantly, because when I got into it, it was funny because a friend of mine introduced me to it. Her name is Jackie Small Darville. She's up in Cocoa Beach now. But she told me about it, and I was like, hippy dippy stuff, I don't have time for it. And she said, listen, I want you to take an online course. And I'm like, okay, all right. She insisted. So I did. I took the first one, introduction. And halfway through the course, I was like, man, I don't have time for this. And then the next day, they gave us an exercise. And it was so apropos because I was driving in Miami traffic. And we know what Miami traffic is all about. Okay. And all of a sudden, someone cut me off. Now, typically, like everybody else, I get pissed. Okay. And then in that exercise, what they said is, imagine yourself being in that person's position. You don't know. There may be late for work and something's going on. They may be rushing to an emergency, or if they just being rude. I'm not giving them any excuses. How are you going to allow that to color the rest of your day and your mood, or even the rest of your drive into wherever it is that you're going? And I had to think about that, because technically, one of the things that I learned from mindfulness is instead of 1, 2, which means 1, something happens, boom, we react right away. But in mindfulness, what they say is, boom, something happens. 2, you process it. 3, then you react. Okay. So the 1, 2, 3 rule. So what I did is that morning when they cut me off in traffic, immediately I thought, oh my God, they may be late for work and have been given the ultimatum by their boss that if they're late again, they could be fired, or they may be on their way to an emergency. And even if that's not the case, I'm not going to let that bother me for the rest of my day. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a wimp in traffic. I'm not going to let everybody just cut in and cut.
You're from Miami. Yeah, I don't know.
That's not going to come by, But by the same token, it totally changed the way I dealing with things. So with that in mind, I took the second course and the introductory course, and I was kind of like, maybe there's something to this. And then I was invited to study for a year. I flew out to Colorado for a retreat. And when I came back, there was a year-long online, and then we had to go back for the end of the course. And during that period of time, I was grouped with people from all over the country. As a matter of fact, Canada, we had one lady from as far away as Australia who was part of what we call our cohort group. And I'm sure you're familiar with that. And we still keep in touch. And essentially what we have learned is that we teach mindfulness to everyone around us if we can. We don't push it. We don't try to force people to do it. But I have found that it has made my life a whole lot simpler. I don't stress out as much as I used to. I have to think about things, and I don't get myself all bunched up because something is not going right.
Nice. So as we wrap up, tell me this: what were some steps people can take to get into this mindfulness, to learn more about healing leaf? What would be those steps to bring that awareness and get into that consciousness of healing the body through herbs and mindfulness and those things of that nature?
Well, I am going to start either doing a podcast or YouTube or something along those lines. But in lieu of that, at this point, I do have a website for my mindfulness, and it's at the bottom. It's www.mymindfulness.life, not .com or .net, but mymindfulness.life. And it shows a little bit about mindfulness, and people can get in touch with me to have. In fact, I do one-on-one mindful sessions on Zoom. I've done a couple of them on Zoom. I did one called Mindfulness for the COVID Crazy, because we've all gotten to that point where it's like, man, if I do one more Zoom, if I do one more meeting, and believe me, strangely enough, you become a little more efficient because you don't have to deal with traffic. You don't have to deal with having to get dressed and go out all the time. But again, you also have to take the time to make sure that you nurture the physical body as well. So go for a walk or those kinds of things. And we even teach mindful walking, mindful eating, the whole 9 yards, because I'm like, how am I going to mindfully eat? And we sit down and we shove food down our mouth and we don't think about it and how it processes through the body. So when we talk about mindful eating, take time to savor your food. If you go outside, take time to look up at the leaves, at the sidewalk, even just walk very slowly and notice your surroundings, and then notice how it impacts you.
Awesome. That is a beautiful thing. And it has been a blessing to learn about mindfulness and be a part of that. What are some last words you want to tell our members about your business and what you do to make sure that they take full advantage and support? If you have any Black Friday deals, let people know how they can get in contact with you, how they can take advantage of your products and your services, and why your company is different from all the rest.
Well, they can't call me directly, and my phone number, if they want to get a piece of paper and a pen, or they put it in, because I do take calls directly, as well as I'll take a text. And that's a lot of my business, essentially, during this pandemic, has been people calling me and say, listen, I'm out of salve. I need some more salve, or I need some more tincture to help me sleep. I'm anxiety. So by now, hopefully, you've got a pen or a pencil, and my direct number is 786-355-8598. Again, that's 786-355-8598. Now, I will take a moment to just make people understand that the products are not inexpensive, but they are worth it, because we deal from a nutraceutical instead of a pharmaceutical standpoint. We don't deal with pharmaceutical stuff at all, because we find that, and that's not to lock it, because people have they're taking like blood pressure medication. I'm not trying to suggest that people get off of all of their meds, but just be careful of the medicines that you take and the side effects. Make sure you read what the side effects are. And if at all possible, go as natural as possible, because the reason that the leaves are here, and we happen to live in a very, very tropical climate, so we can grow a lot of the stuff. I know people have heard of moringa. Okay. They've got, even the point where you have like we call them the Chinese plum, the leaves, you boil the leaves. There's mint. Okay. There's guinea hen. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, but it's called animal as well. But all of these kinds of things come to us from nature. Okay, and we don't have to use a pharmacy for everything. That's not to say to put your medicines down, but from a standpoint of making sure that you're in tune with your body, know what your body needs and what your body requires. So that's it.
Awesome. So we want to thank you, Ms. Boone-Fye, for coming in today and telling us about your business and really keeping us grounded in mindfulness and healing and providing that healing leaf for all of us. As you see, www.mindfulness.life. Make sure you check her out and get those products. And can you say the number one more time?
It's 786-355-8598.
Awesome. This is Member Connections with the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, sponsored by AT&T, Bank of America, and Jackson Health. We encourage you to join the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce to get this spotlight and be a part of our business. We are a business community that are about empowering each other so we can build a better community and company for our community. So thank you very much for participating. Ms. Boone, thank you for being a member of the Chamber and being a long-time support and pillar of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce in so many ways. Thank you very much, and we look forward for more.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.